So after taking a brief nap, I get up, and as soon as I do, I watch an episode of Gintama. And I was not prepared for what I witnessed this week. Like, all these emotions I feel right now after first thing waking up in the morning watching an episode of Gintama, like, all these emotions I feel right now, I wasn't prepared for. Like, to start a day on Wednesday. Like, I wasn't prepared for this. The meaning of this episode and arc is phenomenal for Gintama. It's very phenomenal, and I say it a lot, but this is why I love and respect Gintama, this series, so much. Arcs like this is just so brilliant. It's amazing how a series that has a lot of comedy, can make you laugh your ass off constantly, can have arcs like this that just make you want to break down. Like, the meaning of the characters, like for instance, the Executioner. To see how she came to the conclusion of suicide, for instance, the meaning, like the meaning behind that at the end of this episode, where she says she died. And it was kind of like a spiritual sense, like she died in spirit. For instance, her old personality and her old sins of like how she was a demon was executed. And Gin saved her from that. And to see how she also did the exact same thing to Gin, it was so emotional. Like, I'm probably not describing it right, but the way it was done, it progressed and gave character development for Gin. And then it also shows how good of a person Gin is, which we already know Gin's a good person, but to see how he handles some of these situations, like when he was freaking out at the end of this episode, when he thought she actually committed suicide, he was about to break down and go into a bloodlust rage because he was pissed off. He wanted his head to be cut off by her, of all people. At the very least, if Gin wants to die, he wants to die by her hands and get his head chopped off. And that right there, when that was revealed in this episode, it made me start thinking about so many things. In a sense, Gin died in this week's episode. He died in a spiritual sense. He died in a spiritual sense along with the Executioner died in a spiritual sense, but it also, I feel like the way that was done in this episode, it feels like it's foreshadowing for maybe how Gin will die at the end of this series. Like, I sense a way that Gin might die at the end of the series is through execution. His head will fly off, because this series can be dark. It can. Gintama can be a dark series, and I could see something like that, especially with how it was done in this week's episode. Like, when you saw the brother, when, he was, beating the shit out of those government soldiers or whatever, and, you're just kicking them, punching them and all that, and when he told, his little sister to go, all of a sudden you see this dude pop up behind him and just whack his head off, and his head goes flying. I had so many conflicting emotions about that scene, because at that moment, I hated that dude. I hated the brother. But then I liked his character with how he realized how broken he was. And that's what made this arc so enjoyable. And then this episode in general, so enjoyable. Because he actually realized he was broken. His psyche was broken. And then to see that, I was like, this is crazy good. Just to see how a character can realize something like that. And then when it comes down to it, his head just gets cut off. And you just see it plop into the ocean. And there he goes. His body's dead. And that's the end of his character. I mean, this character we may have only known for a couple episodes now, but that's the end of his character. Said and done. It's wrap it up. And to see how he was just ended like that, it shocks you. It just opens your eyes like, holy crap, this series can be dark at sometimes. And I have heard that Gintama is getting pretty damn dark recently. I've heard that the manga is getting very fucking dark. Like, I've heard from Chibits that read the manga saying there hasn't been like a comedy arc or any comedy in, like, God, a year. That's what I've been told from manga readers, and that scares the fuck out of me. If that's true, I don't know how to feel about that. I really don't. But back on topic to this episode, though, what really impresses me was how Gintama could shock you when you think a character might die or might, survive. Like, when you saw how Gin got cut, and then, her right behind him got her neck slit, I thought she died right then and there. I'm like, oh my fucking god, what the fuck? Like, when I saw that, like, I thought she fucking died. I was like, Gin is about to go psycho rage mode on that type of shit, if that really did happen. So, you gotta love how Gintama keeps you in this suspense, like, where you don't know what is going to happen, no matter what. I mean, I feel like that's why I love Gintama so much, because you never know what to expect with comedy or a serious arc. You never know who is going to make it out of it, who will die, and the outcome, and what type of meaning this overall arc might have on this series. Like, that character that was introduced in this arc, right towards the end, it's very obvious that this dude, I think his name was Nobu, I think that's what the dude's name was. It's very obvious this dude is very important, and he's going to play a huge role in the future. I'm willing to bet he's going to have a huge role in the future when it comes to the serious arcs, from what I've heard. I'm willing to bet that dude will. And then also, you know, Gen's fellow comrade, Take, was also there, and I didn't expect to see him also a part of this arc when he popped up. That was also a very shocking revelation, which makes me think that this dude that was introduced is going to be very important for the endgame of this series. So, arc turned out to be very, very serious. I did not expect the way this arc ended. Like, it was crazy, especially with the executioner, the way he died, just... Gintama, man. God, man, it wrecks me. It wrecks me on a weekly basis with how fucking good it is. I love this series. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or not, wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibit out.